I've shot, I mean, obviously I haven't shot every single venue in Colorado, but I've shot a vast majority of them. And if I haven't, I've shot one that's very similar. And so we have that experience to say like, okay, let's go over here. Let's find this right lighting. And so definitely make suggestions. Say, hey, we'd love to get a shot in front of this tree that looks really cool. Great. Let us know. But trust your photographer. They'll definitely guide you. Like I said, at least we personally, I don't know if all photographers do this. I think a lot do, but we're very close on the timeline. I've had many planners say, oh, we love working with you because you're keeping them on the timeline. I almost don't have to. Trust us, we're going to do a good job, and we care about your wedding. Like, we want you to get the best photos, and we want your wedding day to go well. It's not one or the other. We want both.
Welcome to the Colorado Wedding Podcast, the ultimate place to plan your Colorado wedding.
From luxury weddings to intimate elopements, we'll guide you through planning your wedding in the beautiful state of Colorado.
We're your hosts, Josh
and Brian,
and we're here to give you insider tips and advice from all kinds of Colorado wedding experts.
Join us and discover the best ways to reduce wedding stress and design your unique wedding day.
Hey there, guys. This is the Colorado Wedding Podcast. We are the ultimate place to go to plan your Colorado wedding. We are your hosts, Josh
and Brian.
We own various media companies here in Northern Colorado. I own Ascend Media, and Brian owns Bookman Photography. We're wedding media gurus here in Northern Colorado. And we are talking today about just a couple tips to ensure you get the best photos for your wedding. Brian here has shot so many weddings here in Northern Colorado.
All over Colorado, yeah.
And he is just an expert on photography here. So we're just going to unpack a couple tips of just his best tips he's gathered over the years to produce the best photos at the end of the day. So we're going to jump right on in. And Brian, our first point is just really finding the right photographer. Can you just walk us through what that looks like? There's a bunch of different facets there, but what do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many good photographers, and we want you to find the right one. I mean, obviously we want to work with you, but every photographer is different, and every bride and groom is different. Every, couple is different. And so we want you to find the right photographer. So one of the best ways to do that is just to check out their stuff. Number one, that may be obvious, but make sure that they have the style that you want. There are different photography styles. Some people do more candid. Some people do awesome poses. They do like Vogue poses, and some people have different colors. Some are brighter, some are darker, all this sort of stuff. And if you don't know what a photographer style is, reach out to them. Let them just say like, hey, like what would you say your style is? And if they don't know, that's probably not a great sign. So, like for me, it's like I do an editorial style, which means I'm capturing a lot of candids, and I'm still going to help a little bit with posing and kind of meet you where you're at. And, you can see the visual style. We're trying to be consistent with our editing style too. So, and the other thing about finding the right photographer is like check their packages, what you want included, so maybe you want them for 8 hours, 6 hours, you want full day coverage. We always do full day coverage. Some people do hourly packages. So just look at those and see what they include. If they include 2 photographers, if they include printing rights, if they include everything that you want. Maybe you don't know what you want yet, but just talk to the photographers and look at their packages. They should have them on their website. And again, if they don't, probably not a great sign. So make sure that they look at that information and contact them. And then the other thing is just make sure they're available. That's kind of a weird little thing, but like you could love a photographer and be following them and like, this is going to be our photographer, and just have that in your head. Check way ahead of time. Most of us are getting booked a year, 18 months ahead of time. And so just check that the availability, that's usually one of the first things so you're not wasting your time.
Yeah.
That's true for video too, pretty much all your vendors, but
totally.
Pretty straightforward. And then the last thing I would say, I know there's a lot for choosing your photographer, but personality match. And I think this is true for every single one of your vendors, is go with your gut and just, if you want your wedding your way, you want the people there that are going to make you shine. So if you're on a call on a consult call or whatever, and they're just giving you bad vibes, like, oh, they seem kind of dismissive, or, I'm like really, really high energy, they're low energy, or I'm really, I'm really chill and they're super type A, they want a bunch of organization stuff. Keep looking around. There's so many photographers that you're going to find the one that is going to fit for you.
Totally. That's great stuff. Also, bringing on to our point 2, and Brian, I know you totally include this in a lot of your packages.
Yes.
but including an engagement shoot with kind of your full package.
Yes. And if you've already had an engagement shoot, I don't care. I'm saying that in a nice way. I want to meet you before your wedding day. And if you live halfway across the country and you're doing an elopement, then it'll probably be more video calls. Or if I'm in your area, neck of the woods, because I do travel, then sometimes I'll even try to schedule a coffee with you. But we want to take you out for an engagement shoot. We always call them a day in the life shoot. I think that's, I love the Beatles. A Day in the Life is an amazing Beatles song. Little inside tip. But we always call it a day in the life shoot because we want to capture you when you're engaged, because say, after you get married, things change, right? So you could buy a new house and move, or you could move out of the state, out of the country, or to a different city, or, you could have a dog now and you're going to have kids later, or whatever that may be. Your life is probably going to change a little bit in some way or a lot after you get married. And so capturing that time is important. But again, going back to the personality thing, we want to make sure you know how we interact, and we want to see your personality together with your partner, so that we know on the wedding day, like, oh, okay, like they're super chill. They don't want a bunch of, action thrown at them, or they don't want a bunch of crazy people, they don't want craziness around them. Or if it's the vice versa, like they love a party, that they want high energy. That's good for us to know, so that we meet you and that we are kind of disappearing into the background during your wedding day, and we know your personality. So we don't want to be strangers. We always say that. I don't want to show up and have someone go, who are you again? That sucks for us. That sucks for you. You have a stranger following you around. And so you should at least know one person on the video and photo team that you have met before, who's on the inside of knows what's going on with your relationship. So.
Totally. Yeah. Well, in addition to that, I mean, we've talked about this in past episodes, but just planning the timeline and having that just all set through before the wedding day. Everybody knows what they're doing. The photographer, videographer know when they're doing the first look, capturing vows, all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, we have covered this, and we'll continue to cover it, because I would say it's the number one question we get is, how should we structure our timeline? And we always work with the wedding planners and the venues to make sure that we're not messing up any of their stuff. So really just providing input, but we need to make sure we have enough time to do family photos. We need to make sure that we have enough time for getting ready. If you have a first look, making sure that's in there. What time sunset is, so that we get the right lighting. So always communicate with your photographer about your timeline. It's going to help you get better photos. It's going to help reduce stress, which we're going to harp on a million times. And you guys can go to our website at coloradoweddingguides.com. We do have, you can just put your email in and we'll send you a timeline sheet. We have all different types of timelines, right? It's like elopements and traditional and first look. So that's a great place to get started. So check that out. And most photographers will have sample timelines that they can give you to work with. But you can find a million online too. But definitely go to our website and check that out. And that could be a great way to start. But yeah, we will communicate with a bunch of other vendors outside of you, so we're not adding stuff onto you, to make sure we know what's going on and not messing up your stuff. And Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, we're constantly looking at that timeline throughout the day to make sure that you're on time. Right? I mean, I'm sure you're doing that too, right?
Yeah, totally. And if things are going off timeline and it's going to mess up some shots later in the day, we definitely care about that. And we're pushing to keep things as they were planned.
Yep. And one thing I always tell my brides is, you're the bride. They're not going to do anything without you. So if stuff is a little bit behind, they're not going to start the ceremony without you. They're not going to do speeches without you. They're not going to do anything without you. So that timeline is definitely a guide, and you can go back to our timeline episode and hear more about that. But definitely discuss that with your photographer.
So also another tip to getting the best photos is communicating with your photographer on things like a shot list, which family members that you want especially highlighted. Can you walk us through a little bit more of that communication? With your photographer?
Yeah. So we have a lot of people ask us like, hey, do you want me to give you a shot list? Personally, I would say, no, I don't want a shot list. Some photographers might be that way. If they want a checklist, they want to go down the list, but I've shot hundreds of weddings, and I know for the most part what needs to be photographed that day, what details need to be photographed, what people need to be photographed, what moments need to be photographed, and obviously all the in between, the candids. That's something that we're really big on. So we will have a flow, and we're not going to miss any of the main things. What is good to know is the things that are like special to you. Again, every episode that we talk about, we're going to say, do your wedding and that's unique to you. Do the wedding that's unique to you. So if you want to, jump off a cliff, going cliff diving on your wedding day in your dress, be careful, but yes, totally. Let's do it. Those are the things we want to know about so that we're prepared. If we need to bring, something that's going to
skydiving.
Yeah. Water. If we need to bring skydiving equipment, sign me up. I'm ready for that. So let me know. I've never done that, but if we need to know that there's going to be an action shot or a surprise, we've had people do fireworks as a surprise or something like that. We need to know about that. So we're set up for lighting, before the day, or if there's an important person, hey, this is my second aunt, and so maybe it wouldn't be someone who's on our radar all the time, but she actually raised me. We need to know that. Or my great grandma gave me this necklace and she passed away, a couple of years ago. So, we need to know about those kind of details. So, the other thing too is just bring those details with you. So I would recommend bringing more than you need. So talking, like, obviously you're going to bring your jewelry and your dress and your shoes and your suit, all that stuff you're going to bring, but bring like your invitations, bring, the save the dates, all the paperwork, any design stuff, flowers, because those are things that we're going to use in a lay flat. You put so much time into those details and we want to capture that. So anything that's laid out, we're going to get, but definitely bring those details and let us know when we get there. And then the last major thing, I think you mentioned the family photos. That's something that we personally, on our team, we say super, super organized on, because we always tell them, every family photo can take 1 to 2 minutes. So if you give us a list, if you don't give us a list, number one, it's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I've had some brides and grooms who kind of just forgot about it, and even if I've reminded them, and that makes that part of the day so long and stressful. It can be the most stressful part of the day. And so just communicating that family list, and we can send you samples of those. But making sure that list is, I would say usually like 10 to 15 groups of photos. So of each side, 10 to 15 of all of them. So that includes both sides of the family. If you add 1 to 2 minutes per photo, even 15 photos can take 30 minutes. If you have 30 photos, that could take an hour of you guys just standing there. So definitely keep that list short, because we're going to be there all night. And if you have, you want to do a picture with like your neighbor that you grew up with, we can grab you from the dance floor and do that at any point in time. So keep that family photo list short, sweet, to the point, and organized.
Awesome. Great thoughts. And one more topic here. So, once your wedding day arrives, you have not a lot of control over anything else. So my last point is really trust in your photographer.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely trust your photographer. That's why finding that personality that we mentioned before is so important, because you want to be able to trust your photographer. Like, if your photographer is someone that you don't get along with, this is going to make this part tough. But hopefully your photographer has shot many, many, many weddings at this point. And if they have a little bit of experience, if you're paying a little less, that's probably fine too. But definitely obviously I haven't shot every single venue in Colorado, but I've shot a vast majority of them. And if I haven't, I've shot one that's very similar. And so we have that experience to say like, okay, let's go over here. Let's find this right lighting. And so definitely make suggestions and say, hey, we'd love to get a shot in front of this tree that looks really cool. Great. Let us know. But trust your photographer. They'll definitely guide you. Like I said, at least we personally, I don't know if all photographers do this. I think a lot do, but we're very close on the timeline. I've had many planners say, oh, we love working with you because you're keeping them on the timeline. I almost don't have to. Trust us, we're going to do a good job, and we care about your wedding. Like, we want you to get the best photos, and we want your wedding day to go well. It's not one or the other. We want both. So like, we don't want you to have a super stressful day just to get good photos, and we don't want you to have a really good day to get crappy photos.
Yeah.
Like, we want you to have both, and we're going to make sure you have both. And if we have to bend over backwards to do that, awesome. Like, my energy spikes on a wedding day, and I'm like, let's do this thing.
Yeah. And we've seen it enough, and we know how to get the right photos. So you can, if you've got an experienced photo team, you can give them.
It goes for videographers too, but like, we know where to be, and if we don't, we'll ask. Like, I'm talking to the wedding planner or who's ever running the venue. I talk to them all day. I'm schmoozing with them. I love people and joking around, keeping the day light, making sure that we know what moments are serious, what moments need a little more energy. I'm constantly paying attention to that. It's almost second nature. And sorry, I'm not trying to self-brag here. It's just like that. I love it, and my energy is made for wedding days. So I think most photographers do it for that reason. So again, pay attention to their personality at the beginning. If they're like, oh yeah, like we always do it this way, yeah, like I know you want to do it this way, but I think I'd rather do it this way. Don't hire that photographer. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like, be careful with that, because your wedding day is about you. It's not about what the photographer is going to use on Instagram. And I just think like, just be careful with that.
Yeah.
So.
Man, well, thank you for sharing these tips and just sharing your experience with hundreds of weddings here in Colorado with our audience.
Yeah,
really
and just
helpful.
Yeah, just like a couple last things. Like again, just pay attention to your partner and don't think about the photos. That's one thing I would just say is, the more you think about the photos, the more you're gonna try to pose perfectly and whatever. Just focus on your partner, and the photos will take care of themselves. Like the people that stress out the most, their photos aren't as good, their videos aren't as good, living in the moment, so their wedding's not as good. So the photos are a secondary piece. So just don't think about them, and you're gonna just have positive vibes and just focus on the emotions of the day, and we will take care of the rest. It's not your responsibility to get good photos. Set yourself up for success, and we'll take care of the rest. So I think like that's the most important part.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us today on the podcast. We are Josh and Brian, and we're the hosts here on the Colorado Wedding Podcast, and we love being a part of your weddings here in Colorado. We've really seen it all here in photo and video. And so if you're planning that wedding, head on over to coloradoweddingguides.com, and we've got a ton of resources. We're interviewing people throughout the wedding industry here in Colorado, and we're just trying to create the ultimate place to help you plan just the best wedding. So thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Colorado Wedding Podcast.
We hope you found our tips insightful for planning your Colorado wedding.
For all the free wedding planning tools, checklists, and guides, go to coloradoweddingguides.com.
Don't forget to rate us on Apple and Spotify, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at CO Wedding Podcast.
We appreciate you and hope you have the best wedding possible.
See you next time.